Hi, and welcome to the podcast channel for podcastmybusiness.com.au and with video with contentmadeeasy.com.au. And today we're joined by Karan Anand from Hnry, hnry.com.au. How are you, Karan?
I'm really well, Tony. How are you?
Bloody awesome. Yeah, and we were just talking before how we're both here in Sydney. Yeah, it's a warm day in March. What's going on? But anyway, things are like that. So my first question to you is, why is it called Hnry?
It's a great question. I wish I had a really creative answer. But Henry was founded in New Zealand about 8 years ago, and one of the things we wanted from the outset of the founding of the company is it needs to feel like that witty, smart, clever friend that you've got with you that helps you solve some of life's most complex problems.
Mm,
And financial admin is that problem that really negates the lifestyle experience of a lot of sole traders. And so we actually put it up for a poll in this fintech accelerator we took it through. And amongst the names that came up around the brand attributes we put up, the name Henry kept recurring. And we went, actually, that's a great name for this organization. And
mm,
so we called it Henry. You try and register the domain, henry.com, and you get no luck. Go and pay $55 million for that. And so drop the E, four-letter domain. It's startup cool because there's no vowels in it. And
yeah.
before you
Mm,
know it, we're Henry. And now we do have henry.com, which are
mm,
four-letter domain names that are notoriously hard to get, but that's ours now.
mm.
And there you go. And fast forward 9 years later, Wellington Regional Stadium, also commonly known as the Cake Tin, is now called Henry Stadium,
Oh,
which
good.
we're very excited about. And that's a name change that happened, if you're listening to this in March, about a month ago.
Mm. Excellent. Okay, and what, you didn't put it through ChatGPT?
Well, unfortunately, back then we didn't have it. I'm sure
No.
ChatGPT would have come up with something more creative.
Yeah. Well, probably would have come up with a. Oh, look, who knows? I think there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with Henry. It's
yeah.
interesting. Cool. Well, I got podcast my business and content made easy. I went for the longer, more explanatory. However, are they too long? I don't
Look, it gives us a lot of flexibility with a brand, right? Because then you
know.
can define it the way you want. I mean, obviously with yours, people are going to know what it is straight off the bat, which is
Mm,
which is also really good.
yeah. Cool. All right. So we're having a bit of a chat today about. We did some surveys around Australia about business confidence and how happy they are, and it came out that the most positive and confident sole traders were in Queensland. So we'll speak to that for now, and then we'll speak to the next big cloud on the horizon after that.
Sure. So, I mean, Queensland's just a place to be, isn't it? And I have to
Mm,
be careful what I say here because my wife's a
mm,
Queenslander.
mm,
But I think there's what we've noticed, and it's been across a couple of these Henry Sole Trader pulses. It's a
mm,
one of its kind survey that we run 3 times a year, and we've been running it since 2021. And
mm,
it's Australia and New Zealand's only proper snapshot of the sentiment of sole traders. And the reason I
mm,
think Queensland came up really well was one is there's a lot of positive economic activity um, which is happening in the state, and it's in the some infrastructure spend, but also in the anticipation of, I think, Olympics a few years away, and so there's
mm,
infrastructure spend that's increasing. They've also, I think, got the tailwinds of some really positive population and demographic dividends going in their way. We sort of saw
mm,
that post-COVID wave of people leaving the likes of Victoria and New South Wales and moving up to Queensland.
mm,
And then the last thing we saw was just, and maybe it's just to do with this poll came out around the summer months. People are just happier in Queensland when it's
mm,
nice and warm.
mm,
And so I think a combination of factors meant that Queensland sole traders seem to be more confident, happier, and doing better than their counterparts in the rest of Australia.
mm. Yeah, and we're talking before about sole traders, so we might as well get that definition out of the way. What is a sole trader?
So there is a technical definition as far as the ATO is concerned, but it's anyone who's operating their own business as a solo operator who's not incorporated as a company. And so in Australia, the ATO, or the Australian Business Register, has a classification called an Australian business number, and anyone who's carrying an Australian business number and operating a business without incorporating a company is by virtue a sole trader. It's actually uncommonly known that sole traders are the majority of small businesses in Australia.
Mm,
And so when we talk about SMEs, there's a two-third chance that you're actually talking about a sole trader, either 2.5-ish million small businesses in Australia, about 1.6 million are sole traders. And so it is a large group of Australians who choose to operate this way, something like 15% of our entire working population. But as has been our observation, which is why we drew the sole trader pulse, it's not a group that's reported on. It's not a group that has a lot of agency or a lot of advocacy. And one of the stated aims of Hnry is to improve that outcome as well, particularly as it pertains to the eyes of government and big business, and a bit of sort of self-awareness and self-pride in operating as a sole trader as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I go to lots of business networking events, and there's lots of sole traders there. And yeah, before COVID, there'd be lots more of them. But a lot of them call themselves sole traders, and I'd say, well, look, okay, well, how are you going with your BAS this month? Oh, I don't have to pay GST.
Yeah.
I go, okay, what does that still make them qualify as sole traders? I guess, but
Yeah.
what sort of business are they?
Yeah, you're right, and it's different, right? Because what we're seeing now is,
Mm,
and this has been a movement over the last sort of 10 years with the as the digital economy has advanced, is people building out what we call these portfolio careers. And
mm,
so I might work part time here, and that's like in an employed role where I'm
mm,
working for an employer, but I'm also building out my own side hustle. And it may be a lifestyle business, so I might be
mm,
making $30,000 to $40,000 a year from a stated lifestyle business. It could
mm.
be a gig work type business where I'm
Yep, yep,
driving an Uber or DoorDash rider or something similar to that. But it's also, a number of our customers who will be retail operators selling whatever trinkets at the local market. They consider themselves sole
mm,
traders as well, but they're supplementing their income or vice versa with part-time employment. So far be it from me to tell people how they should
mm,
structure their lives, but I think
mm,
what the internet has done over the last 20 years is allow people to diversify the ways they make money. And I think people who are choosing to diversify the way they make money, particularly as AI, and we'll get into it. You can't
mm,
have a conversation these days without AI, can you, Tony?
mm.
Upends the economy. Like those who have more diverse ways of making money, I think those are the ones who are probably going to be more resilient as the economy goes through another
Mm,
revolution over the coming few years.
mm. Yeah, it's interesting about AI. AI has only been going for roughly 2 years or so, probably even less, and had a presence the last 12 months or so. Now, I now do AI optimization for clients. I normally do SEO, and I do AI, and I do podcasts and content and things like that. But that's become a new business for me just the start of this year,
Yeah.
and I've got clients already paying me for doing that sort of service. So I tell everyone, look, you know what? AI, it's not that hard, but it's all to do with how fast. And with small businesses, going fast is easy. So people should be going fast to find new niches.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And I think it's the sort of thing that it's worthwhile spending time investing in it, even if it's just playing around with
Mm,
ChatGPT or some of the vibe
mm,
coding, products or systems that are out there as well. And I
mm,
think what people don't realize is there's this cohort of people who might have downloaded ChatGPT in its first incarnations in 2024 and went,
mm,
there's a lot of hallucination, there's a lot of mistakes here,
mm,
but the rate of progress in this technology is just unprecedented. You
mm,
pick it up now, and if you haven't touched it for a year and a half, it's materially better.
mm. Oh, don't worry, it still hallucinates. I constantly battle with AIs. I use multiple AI engines, and I do it in a way so that way they double check each other.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. That's a really good system.
Mm. So that's a tip. And I've got a system where I have a 25-point checklist that I feed into AI
Wow, wow.
before it even does anything for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really good practice.
Yeah, you can't trust them. Now, talking about things happening in big dark clouds in the world, here we are in the middle of. I haven't quite figured out how to position this and what how to say this. The American president's adventure in the Middle East. Is that a polite way of putting it?
Yeah, I think it has been referred to as an adventure or an excursion in some of the American
Mm,
media, hasn't it? So let's use their words.
Yeah. So his excursion into the Middle East, and without so much as even a compass by the looks of it, but look at the effect it's had, and had a massive effect on confidence, let alone truth. Um, like today, somebody told me about a headline: "Oh, we're going to have $40 caps on filling up the car." Well, no, we're not. The government's already said that's not going to happen. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that would be. I mean, I think the hard part is to know how far this will go,
Mm,
and I think that's something. The uncertainty is probably not at the same magnitude, but at least the same level of unease as was if I go back to March 2020 in the first few weeks of COVID, where particularly in Australia, we knew there were rumblings of something big in far off lands.
mm,
The ripple effects we were already experiencing, but we're sort of like, we're far away, like
mm,
this will blow over. Like
mm,
we can get on with it. The government was sending us very positive signals that our processes and systems and protocols are such that the
mm,
country's in very good shape until the storm rolls through. And did we not
mm,
experience it roll through 2020 and 2021? So
mm,
let's hope common sense prevails and things do calm down there. But we really don't want a repeat of the economic shock that happened from March through to May 2020.
mm,
And if you combine that with the what's happening with the AI world and all these predictions of worker displacement,
mm,
um, which we've already started seeing with some tech companies slashing jobs,
mm,
I'm not sure we have the economic resilience to withstand multiple shocks simultaneously.
mm. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge. And yeah, I spoke to one of my clients just before we came here about how resilient they are because they've been paying their bills a bit later than normal and whatever. And I'm like family there, so I get the unvarnished truth of look, And what I do, I bring in revenue. So marketing and advertising brings in revenue.
Mm.
Well, what we get rid of that and we get less revenue.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think you're exactly right, and that's what we see it as we're a financial admin platform for the self-employed, and so
Mm,
we go everywhere from the quoting and invoicing through to the accounting software through to the compliance. And if you think about all those things, well, to your point, quoting and invoicing, if you want to get paid, you've got to make a request for payment, and
mm,
so you
mm,
can't stop sending invoices.
mm,
You still got to manage your books regardless of what happens from a economic perspective. And unfortunately, the tax office doesn't go away in terms of,
mm,
to your earlier point, getting your BASs or income tax returns lodged on time. And so you've got to engage with that segment of it as well. And so
mm,
you're right. I mean, there is obviously a lot of as is the nature of things these days and what types of media sell, there is always going to be hyperbolic comments and statements made. But even during COVID, it's not like the whole world stopped. The economy still very much functioned,
mm,
and most people still kept their jobs. And if they didn't, then there was a huge bounce back in June 2020,
mm.
when and our unemployment rate's basically been at record low since. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we will get through this phase. We
Mm,
do always bounce back. It's just how deep will the trough be before we have to
mm,
sort of, and how
yeah.
how how sharp will the bounce back be after that?
Yeah, I'm going to pick up on a word that you said. I'm going to change it a little bit. I'm going to call it hyperbolics.
I like that.
Yeah. So it's hyperbolics headlines. Look, I've been reading the tea leaves and I follow news and whatever.
Mm.
And, there's George Orr, there's an old expression, George Orr is better than War War.
Yeah, right. I've not heard that one.
No, it's a very, very old expression. I think it's from the Second World War or something. I've heard it and I go, that's actually a good expression. It fits the time. So, look, as long as they're talking instead of flinging stuff at each other, that's a positive, and that's where they're heading towards. They're talking and they're going, okay, this, and whatever, and what have you. But it just goes to show, even when you're a president of the United States and you've got all these advisors, you can still make mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And they're playing big stakes games.
Mm,
And so when you're essentially at the end of the day, you strip everything back everyone's a gambler, right?
Mm,
And this is the bet you've placed. And
mm,
so, once your chips are on the table, you're exposed to the rules of the game then.
mm, mm,
And as much as you'd like to think you're bigger or better than the house always wins here, right? And the house is the tectonic factors that play in this great global game. So I look, again, touch wood, touch all the things around you. We are, I
mm,
think, blessed to live in this part of the world
mm.
where we are
Yes.
generally immune from these
Yeah.
things.
Mm,
But my heart very much goes out to all the people in the Middle East at the moment who are
mm,
suffering
mm,
through some very difficult times. And for their sake, it's not just the people of Iran; it's impacted the whole Gulf.
mm.
And I've spent a little bit of time traveling in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and just you can't go there at the moment, which is really sad.
Mm, mm. Yeah, exactly right. It's a bit of a challenge. So, with all your experience with sole traders and what have you, what are some tips for sole traders?
So we so the first thing to note is that we know for most of our customers, and the reason Henry exists is financial admin is a huge burden. Typically, it's a time suck if you add up all the things that go into it. And so what we try and get to, and this is the way the proposition works, but if I sort of abstract the way the proposition works into some principles, and sticking to our lane around financial admin, the first thing we talk about with our customers, particularly who are new to self-employment, new to sole trading, is separating your business and your personal money. And that's one of the
Mm,
challenges that when you're operating as a solo operator is you don't have the logical separation from an entity perspective, and people
mm,
normally get those things conflated. So either you have separate accounts or there's a separate system where your business income and expenses are treated separately from your personal income, and very much within that, your tax is treated separately as well. And this is something that Henry does automatically for our customers. But if you're not using Henry, it doesn't matter. It's that when you
mm,
go from salary employment, you go to self-employment, just because you're getting paid that amount of money, whatever your marginal
mm.
tax rate is, anywhere between 15 to 35, 40%, it's not yours. It belongs to the government. And
Correct.
if you're collecting GST, you're basically just a
Mm,
collections agency for the government.
mm. Yeah.
A lot of our customers get into strife with that early in self-employment. That's why they come into Henry in their second year going, I just got stung with a huge tax bill and I'm
Mm,
already in tax debt. What do I do with it?
mm,
And so the second tip is then treating tax like a real-time expense. It's not
mhm,
something you can just deal with later. Don't spend all your money now and go, oh, at the end
mhm,
of the year, I'll make sure I have some buffer.
mhm,
Um, it's making sure that you've actually set that amount of money aside, or you're dealing with a system that allows you to handle the tax immediately. The third thing is um, eliminating this concept of catch-up work. So, the worst feeling in business is feeling like you're behind on admin. And if you're behind, so setting up some processes and systems such that admin is a repeatable part of your infrastructure, your system from the outset. Um, and probably the last tip I'll say is um, don't outsource confusion just because you
mm,
don't understand some concepts about your business, particularly about your money, which is, to a large extent, probably the most important part of your business. Don't just be, oh, I have an accountant, my accountant sorts it out. Like, be on
mhm,
top of the principles, be on top of what's happening. If
mhm,
you are retaining an accountant, ask the questions. That's what you're paying them for.
mhm,
And it's not something you need to be an expert in overnight, and it's probably something you don't need to be an expert in overall. But it
mhm,
is something you need to have an understanding of, because this is where mistakes are made. And ultimately, when you sign your tax return, you are responsible for the
mhm.
information that went into it, not your accountant. They're merely the vehicle, the entity that's lodging it on your behalf. So make sure you are on top of what's going on in your business, particularly when it comes to money matters.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And I definitely endorse the first point about bank accounts. That was the first thing I did when I started my business. I created a separate business bank account. Business revenue goes in there. A client pays, that covers a particular bill. Um, is a good way of allocating that as well.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, and that's something that we have we, I mean, if I give you the 15-second overview of how Henry works, Tony, when a
Mm,
customer gets paid, we automatically calculate and pay. So we provision each of our customers with a Henry account, so basically a business account. which you get your customer payments into, and you can do it by bank transfer, pay ID. We allow merchant facility as well, so you can accept credit card payments. And when your money comes in, we automatically calculate and pay the right amount of tax. To ATO, if you want to make an allocation to superannuation, to your super, and then the rest of the money we remit to your own personal bank account, which is yours to spend sort of post-tax. And so there's a logical separation between my business income's come in, my taxes being taken out, the part that's hit my personal account is mine to spend, and that's my money. And it just gives customers that peace of mind that, I'm not worried about building a tax liability or getting to the end of the quarter or the end of the year going, how much money is mine versus not mine? I'm a bit scared of this. It's like, you've got that peace of mind, and there's that separation.
Absolutely, you need to keep. It's not your money. A friend of mine started at the same time as me and ended up with a huge tax bill for GSS. I said, why didn't you just take? It's a simple number, 10%.
Yeah.
Just take it. It's on the bloody invoice. Just take it. It's not. It's not complicated.
Yeah, and it's likely going to be less than 10% as well, because you get some back on your expenses. But you're right.
Yes.
Like, as a rule of thumb, GST just 10%. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and then you can claw it back and do whatever. Okay, cool. Right, anything else you'd like to add?
yeah, I think probably the last thing is optimize for peace of mind. Right. That's really, as if you're a business owner, you're a sole trader, you've got enough drama in your life. And so think from an admin perspective, how can I make this a repeatable process that makes my life easier? Don't use outsourcing, use third parties where possible to make your life easier. So you can actually either focus on the things which are more important, which is building and running your business, and then spending time with your loved ones, right? Everything else is just noise.
Yeah, yeah. You don't start up your own business to work harder.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly
Yeah,
right.
I was in this job, and it took all my time, and I got stressed and whatever. And I started my own business, and guess what? It's even harder and takes longer and even more stressful.
Yeah, yeah. Right. What's the point? Yeah.
There is no point. All right, all right. Thank you, Karan.